They Ask You Answer is a revolutionary business philosophy which, when embraced fully, will make you the most trusted voice within your industry. And you're thinking it may be the right digital sales and marketing strategy to propel your company forward. But are you really ready to get started with They Ask You Answer? Let's find out together in this video. Hi, I'm Liz Moorhead with Impact. Over the past decade, we've seen a monumental shift in how consumers across all industries, B2B and B2C, are making their purchasing decisions. Rather than reaching out to companies and traditional sales teams to get answers to their questions, buyers now turn to the internet to do their research before making a big decision. In fact, on average, more than 70% of a buying decision is already made before a prospect ever talks to a company. And that percentage will more than likely increase as technology continues to advance. This means companies like yours can no longer do business the way it's always been done, with sales and marketing teams operating in silos, where sales is the driver of business and marketing is looked at as the expense. Thousands of businesses around the world have been able to adapt and thrive under these new circumstances, and almost all of them have one single thing in common. Their digital sales and marketing teams have embraced They Ask You Answer, a business philosophy that begins with an obsession to answer the question, what are my ideal buyers thinking? So they can then position themselves as the foremost teacher and go-to resource for their buyers in their given industry. But is your business ready for They Ask You Answer? Well, we're really excited that you're asking yourself this question, and there's a good chance you might be. That said, you may not be. So in this video, we're going to cover the red flags you want to look out for across 5 key areas of your business: company culture, leadership, pricing, financial health, and your business model, as they are the key indicators that you may not be ready for They Ask You Answer yet. Now let's dive in. They Ask You Answer is not an arbitrary set of strategies, techniques, and tactics. In order to succeed with it, you must understand it is a cultural shift within your company about how you do business. Of course, company culture can be very hard to define and even harder to change. But without a strong, healthy company culture, They Ask You Answer will struggle to take root at your organization. Your culture will need to support collegiality, growth, transparency, and most of all, enthusiasm for a shared effort. Have you tried other initiatives that have failed? Do you have significant turnover among your employees? Is your workplace one of gossip, cliques, and one-upsmanship? Is there resentment and competition between your coworkers? If your company culture is not supportive of ambitious, all-hands-on-deck initiatives, you will struggle to implement They Ask You Answer effectively. So address these cultural issues first, then you can be ready for growth with They Ask You Answer. Closely related to company culture is the stability of your leadership. If you've seen a lot of turmoil among your leadership with turnover, retirements, firings, and more, it can be very difficult to administer a major philosophical realignment around They Ask You Answer. Moreover, a revolving leadership team leads to overall company instability, which makes They Ask You Answer all the more difficult to implement for long-term success. When a lot of money is changing hands, questions proliferate, and trust is even more vital to a deal being closed. And this is where They Ask You Answer can make a huge difference for companies in these types of industries. But the inverse is also true. For smaller purchases, there will be fewer questions, fewer barriers to purchase. So if you're in a space where pricing is the biggest factor swaying consumers, where you'll often win by being the cheapest option, They Ask You Answer may not be the right fit for you in this moment. They Ask You Answer can be done on a small budget with an army of one. If your company is struggling to make ends meet, however, you might not have the requisite financial health to implement They Ask You Answer well. When we work with companies to implement They Ask You Answer, we train them to bring their marketing in-house, which is beneficial to them by hiring people like content managers and videographers. Only financially soluble companies are in a position to do this, however. If you're an agile young startup, you might be making frequent pivots as you respond to market research. In that case, you might still be figuring out who your customers are and how your company will best solve their problems. Such a company might invest heavily in They Ask You Answer, only to find out 12 months later that their business model has changed, or their company has floundered or been absorbed by a bigger company. If this sounds like your company, remember that growing into your marketplace takes time. So be patient. You might not be ready for They Ask You Answer yet. We have seen time and again that They Ask You Answer can be revolutionary for companies when employed properly and also in the right context. But if your business is hindered by any of the challenges I talked about in this video, there's a great likelihood that They Ask You Answer can still be an effective solution for your needs, just not right now. But if you want to dig deeper into how They Ask You Answer could work for your company, or you simply have more questions about what you've heard about in this video, schedule a time to talk. We would love to hear from you.